Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Blaine Edwards, and today we are joined by Damon, CMO of Charli3, an open source decentralized oracle being built on the Cardano network. So, Damon, brother, cheers for coming on the show.
Yeah, kia ora. It's
Kia ora,
really
kia
nice to
ora.
be here, man.
Yeah. So, for those that have never been to New Zealand, kia ora means hello. And we said that because Damon spent some time there recently, and I'm from there. I'm a Kiwi myself. I'm a Māori, so Indigenous New Zealander represent. So cool, kia ora. All right, so I'm looking forward to today, learn more about Charli3. But before we dive into that, can you please do a quick intro on who you are and tell a little story about how you got involved in this world of cryptocurrency?
Yeah, I think everyone has a pretty interesting sort of unique story that they got involved with it. But yeah, so as Blaine said, my name's Damon. I'm the CMO. I deal with mostly marketing with Charli3, and my background is actually purely medical. I started with a degree in kinesiology, which is sports science, and biomechanics was my specialty, and did a lot of research in that area. And then I moved into nursing, and then through friends, longtime friends that were in crypto and trying to expose me to it for many years, I decided to take the jump, I guess, and try out my hand in the crypto space. And I went really hard at it, and was very interesting to me in a new venture, and kind of just it got me way too ingrained very quickly. So I managed to network quite effectively and impress the right people, and that's how I got to where I'm at with owning this coin now. So it's a pretty surreal experience so far, and I'm just happy and feel very lucky to be where I'm at.
100%. So was your first crypto that you're exposed to, was that Cardano, or was it kind of Bitcoin, Ethereum?
Yeah, the first stuff that I was ever exposed to, I think like anyone, will be Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
Like when you first hear about it, is Bitcoin. But what brought me into crypto, my very first buy was Cardano. I started with a few $1,000s that I had at the time, and I loved the academic background, the humanitarian background, kind of philanthropic as well, goal of what Cardano is, and the community. I've been involved with other projects in different areas like that I've done with side marketing jobs. That's just because my background is all medical doesn't mean I didn't do marketing things otherwise, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when I've been involved with these other communities and stuff within gaming or whatever, community was always the biggest thing that I saw as a driving success for any project. Didn't matter exactly what the tech was, to a point. It was more a strong, supportive, caring community that wanted to do good for everyone involved. And I saw that with Cardano throughout the research I did, and that's why I went Cardano. That's the main thing.
Interesting. So that community. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
with me, Cardano has an extremely strong foundation. And one aspect of that foundation is the community, and other ones is kind of just the peer review process, the scientific process. Like they spend a lot of time on the foundation, which may rub people the wrong way sometimes because things may happen slightly slower. I still think things are moving pretty quickly from my point of view, but like it is a slower process, but you're building like a foundation of granite. And if you're trying to change the systems of the world, you want a foundation of granite. Like
Yeah,
that's just
totally
what it
agree with
is.
you.
So that's
Yeah.
kind of what drew me into Cardano personally. Okay,
Yeah,
so
the purity side is for sure me too. Like I said, my academic background, and same with the rest of the team. It brought us in slower but sure. Total fox and or sorry, the turtle in the hare kind of story, right? Like
yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's exactly the same way, right? Like make sure it's solid. So
Hmm.
totally agree with you.
Interesting, interesting. Okay, so now Charli3, let's kind of pivot to your project. So what is
Mm.
Charli3?
Well, I think most people are familiar with Chainlink, and it's basically that for Cardano. So Oracle situation obviously will be a bit different. And our main difference from Chainlink, people ask us all the time, is just the code base to begin with, right? Chainlink is centered in its foundation around the Solidity language, right, for in their code base, and we're building on Haskell to be native specifically for Cardano. and we will be doing other things. But people might ask also, like, what is an oracle? I didn't know when I started in crypto either. And it's basically kind of a backbone for most projects to get the data they need in order to actually function. So, your dexes or gambling protocols or anything that needs random generation, or anything that, again, any project that actually needs data and in their functions will come through an oracle that is sourcing that data from other areas. So certain things that I mentioned already, price feeds, any kind of other numerical data, things like sports results, weather updates, anything like that, location even updates for different sectors, different platforms, will need all of that from different sources. And what an oracle does, and what my project does for Charli, will source that data from outside off-chain sources, from other crypto projects, or from real-world assets through different APIs set up through for stock data or anything else, and data that's on chain as well, that's being processed through these different projects, and sift through it, break it down, validate that data to make sure it's positive, correct, and real for your processes, and give it to the customers that need it in the correct amounts and specified for their needs, so it helps their process actually continue and work properly. So oracles are a very, very needed backbone, foundational aspect of any chain, I'll say.
Okay. So Charli3, so a lot of people in this space will be familiar with Chainlink. So Charli3 is kind of the Cardano version of that. Could we maybe break down a little bit just around why it's needed in terms of a blockchain? So from my noobish understanding of blockchain, so when there's a transaction that goes through, you have these nodes that need to kind of verify that transaction, and like there needs to kind of, I guess, be consensus. Mom, that's my mom. Oh my god, Mom, stop doing that.
Hold on, man. He just wants to talk.
I'm gonna edit this part out. I'm gonna put.
I think it's fine to leave it in. It's funny.
Okay, I might leave it in, but I'll turn off my phone. Slide off. Sorry, Mom. Love you. Okay. Yeah, so like these nodes
validating nodes.
Yeah, so with these nodes validating these transactions, like there needs to be some sort of consensus within these nodes when they verify that transaction to kind of so there's consensus around the state of that blockchain. Mm-hmm. So when you're bringing in information that is perhaps like dynamic, like let's say that transaction involves, let's say, a Cardano price, like you're kind of taking the Cardano price in that very specific moment. When those nodes are verifying that particular transaction and are getting the price of Cardano at that moment from different sources, because the price of Cardano is dynamic, each node may get a different price for Cardano. And so because of that, there isn't necessarily a consensus between those nodes. So is an oracle solution one way of solving, because that's obviously a problem based on how blockchains work, is oracles like a way to remedy that somehow?
Exactly. So you use the right wording there as in validation, right? So it aggregates that data, as you said, is that they have all these different nodes and it pulls it in. And then we validate that, and we have a few different ways of managing that are separate from what other oracles do in the moment, is to validate that data properly. So one, you're getting that same data can be hopefully aggregated from different sources, right? So it's going to come from, well, yeah, I'll just say different sources. Mm-hmm. It's going to come from all these other places, right? Aggregate into one area. You might have these different values, but they might be just slightly off, right? And then it creates a consensus of what is close enough to the real value, basically. Okay. And within infinitesimal amounts, right? It's kind of like averaging and saying, okay, yeah, this is correct, this is correct, this is correct. All of these things match up, validates what you have. But if there's any outliers, we call them bad actors, right? Those get cut from the equation. Right. So if there's an outlier that's too far off, it's old, it's not a recent update, because that does happen often. it will get cut from the equation. So that data, when it gets sent out, is proper, aggregated and validated through the right measures, instead of having this one thing that throws off the price. And another thing, depending on the project, you need more accurate updates. Like you said, it's changing constantly, especially for a large chain like an ADA price, many transactions per second, and the whole thing with that is, again, like you said, it changes. So it needs to be frequently updated, and those accurate updates from multiple sources need to be checked properly, accordingly. So again, when this price action moves and this data gets thrown out to a project that needs it for, again, let's say DEXs, right? That will need that data to be able to have people be buying and trading with the accurate prices. It's obviously a big deal, because that's how all crypto works, So you need these valid and trusted sources of data, and that's what an oracle provides, is trusted data sources for your project to function and your communities to be able to manage.
Interesting. Okay, so if I had to try and summarize that into a nutshell, oracles connect reliable off-chain data to blockchains and different applications on the blockchain. So it's a connector between off-chain and on-chain type stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's obviously important, because we interact with blockchains, not just on chain. Like we're kind of combining these two realms. So if we're combining these two realms, we need some way to kind of connect the two in a way that is seamless and trusted. And that's where oracles come in. Okay, interesting.
Trusted is the biggest word, I think, in the whole space. There's a lot of mistrust in crypto, and different projects doing weird things, and worried about rug pulls and yada yada, or the data is not correct, and are you making the right trades? So without trusted data in any source, it's a real scary world to be managing. So we hope to bring some sort of stability into the network and the chain to begin with.
You touched on it briefly, but there are obviously a number of. So you have Chainlink, and there are a couple of other oracles even being built kind of on Cardano. What is your point of difference, I guess? Is it a matter of you guys are all solving kind of similar problems but are all needed, or are you solving different problems? Like, what is your point of difference, I guess?
Definitely, I'd say both. I mean, it's hard to tell, because well, here's one. The only other project that we've really talked to about the Oracle solutions, because the main two, Ergo and Wolfram, which people have heard of, obviously coming around. Wolfram is a centralized point of data aggregation, right, off chain, and a trusted source for many years. But fitting that centralized model coming on to the chain is difficult to manage, and we haven't heard any updates from them in a long time. But they would be sourcing a huge pool of great data to be able to bring, and so that's managing a different problem that we can't solve, right? Because we won't have access to that kind of stuff. They've been pooling data for years, in different sources. So that would be very lucky to have that if it can manage on chain. Ergo, I honestly don't know. I know they had a proof of concept a while ago, but it wasn't built on Haskell. And from what we've been told, it's nearly impossible to actually make that happen on the chain. So I haven't heard any more updates from them actually building. They're focused on building their chain. As far as oracles, I'm not really sure. The main one that we've talked to is API 3. And I know some people get mad at me for name dropping other oracles, but I mean, it's a shared space, and we need multiples of oracles. And they do a little bit differently, is they want to work into what the future of oracles should look like. And that's a first party oracle. So instead of needing a third party to aggregate and sift through this data and send it out, like we talked about before, which is what Charli3 does, or what Chainlink does, is a third party oracle, is they want first party. So the projects can go straight to the source and grab larger aggregated pieces of data that are already ready, pre-made for them, and they don't need to pay for these node operators and updates from a third party. And ideally, that would be great, but the space isn't ready for that, and that just doesn't work for a lot of things. So we solve. Getting to your question is like we solve similar things, different data that the projects need, right? We're all going to be presenting that to them, but the way that it's different is in the approach, and where we're grabbing that data from makes a difference. As we said, we'll be pulling it from multiple sources. We're not pulling it from every possible source, and these other oracles might be pulling it from that source. So it's not uncommon for a project to run 2 to 3 different oracles. There's like 6 or 7 different oracle projects on Ethereum, right? Chainlink just happens to be the biggest. So it's not uncommon for people to run multiple or multiple oracle solutions to get the right kind of data for their projects. And I hope that answers your question. We're doing the same and different depending on our approach and what our networks are.
And as a user, or a potential user of Cardano dApps, once the smart contracts go live, as a general rule, the more people competing in a space only increases kind of competition and improvements, which ultimately leads to a better user experience. So if anything, like we should, as users, be kind of embracing more people kind of getting involved in the space, really. Each one kind of taking their own angle, each coming up with their own version of solutions. And ultimately, the space will be better off for this diversity of competition within the Oracle space and just within the ecosystem in general.
That's innovation for the last,
101.
history started, since the history began. That's everything, right? Everybody innovates and they compete and come up with different things, and then that creates something else, and it continues to go, right? Like, so anyone who's like, I just don't like seeing that maximalist idea or this extreme loyalty to one project, because I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right. I don't think that that's the nature of what the potential of crypto can be for changing the world, right? I think we all need to work together, and we welcome anyone building in the space, especially our direct competitors, because it just adds more and it's just better. So that's where we're at.
Yeah. And that makes sense to me. I mean, the whole maximalist approach doesn't really make sense to me if your end goal is kind of optimizing progress, because the moment you become a maximalist, the more you have these filters on, and you kind of are resistant to like certain opportunities which are outside of that circle. And so you may not take that opportunity or embrace this new technology, even though it may be better, because you've got you're kind of blinded with these maximalist glasses on.
It's total time.
But then you also get it as well, because this is such an exciting new technology, and you may fall in love with a concept or an idea. And I can also get the side of the maxis, but I think ultimately there are a bunch of awesome concepts, and we need to figure out how to collaborate in some way. And even with competition, like this is a rising sea, and all these competitors are a boat on this ocean that is cryptocurrency. And as long as that ocean is rising, all the boats will rise together. As long as people don't poke massive holes in each other's boat or their own boat, then that's kind of another deal. That's another situation. But
I'm not a fan of the sea battles at the moment. I'd rather just have a bit of vanilla going on.
Yeah, I feel you. Okay, that makes sense. So the inspiration, I'd love to talk about the inspiration behind Charli3. I kind of love these backstories, which people talk about. Maybe there's this idea that they had when they're sleeping, and then they kind of wake up in the middle of the night and write it down. Like, what was the inspiration behind like Charli3? Was this more of a kind of business opportunity, or was this like, what was that driver behind you starting something like this?
Well, it's more so like a need in the space, but our main team here can't really take full credit for anything. We worked through Cardstarter to get this done. The 3 of us that are doing it, me, Rob, and Jonas, we're all connected to people that ran Cardstarter to begin with in some way, and we were helping them out with the original ideation of the project, but it was mostly them. And I think that they saw the need for an oracle being built in the space. Like, it's not a hard ideation to come up with, chain link for Cardano,
Cardano.
But in the way that it goes, and even into the marketing, I know the even our logo, our branding actually came from the CEO Tash of Cardstarter, and he just loved this little, like Wally, or if you want to go back further, Short Circuit looking character, robot guy, and he's like very friendly. And I think that worked out perfectly, because he knew that oracles have to connect to everybody in some way, right? So why not have a good little friendly guy that can go and say hi to everybody? So that was kind of the ideation of Charlie, and we just kind of got on the boat to be able to ride that along, basically. So I can't take credit for the idea, although I wish I could have given you a much better story.
No, okay, but you had a network of friends. There was an idea, and there seemed to be like a problem in the space that needed a solution like this, and you kind of put your hand up for it.
Yeah, it wasn't really a business solution. It was more of a need situation.
Yeah, you identified a problem and you try to do what you can to fix it.
Exactly.
And so you affiliated with Cardstarter, and you did your token launch on Cardstarter.
Yeah.
What was your reasoning behind, I guess, going through Cardstarter as opposed to, I guess, waiting or kind of like so you the Charli3 tokens at the moment are ETH tokens.
Yeah.
What was the rationale for kind of going down this route versus, maybe waiting
instead
just
of
for a native
CNTs thing? Yeah, I mean, that's totally fair. It was mostly a raise proposition. At the time, even though it doesn't seem that long ago, it's only 3 and a bit months, I guess, at this point.
Yeah.
The belief from a lot of VCs in projects trying to build directly on Cardano was just not there. Everything had been pushed for so long, and being able to get on exchanges that were only CNTs for being able to, again, for raising money for these VCs was very weird to them. They didn't really want to put their money in somewhere that they couldn't really make it. And we wanted to start raising money to start building our platform first to get that first mover advantage. And we didn't feel like we could do that if we launched on Cardano native. So we knew that in Cardstarter's plan, there's a bridge to go to be able to, like an ERC20 converter, basically, but through cards. And if we're part of that network, I think it would be good. And so we decided to launch ETH purely for a raise situation, so we could start developing now, so we could get more money out of the VCs that we needed, and choosing the correct people that would actually help us with our development. Not just anybody who's throwing us money, because I think that's a really bad way to go. And that was the main driver behind it, was to be able to start development and have trust in. Unfortunately, like you need that. You need the trust of the VCs, and they're going to trust a project that can actually start generating income for them as well. So they trusted the vision of starting ETH, going to Cardano on mainnet, and that's why we're able to function as we are, is because we did that.
Okay, now moving to the roadmap. What does that look like for the rest of the year?
Perfect. So the roadmap that looks like for the rest of the year is not the roadmap that's on our website. I'll say that much right now.
Okay.
The new one's coming out, well, right away, actually. By the time this goes live, the new website will be out.
Okay,
so
sweet.
That's good. So the roadmap on that side, obviously, integrating with actual partners on testnet right now, which will be Purple. Right now, we're dealing with PAB issues, just like every other project out there, and being able to integrate with everybody properly. So that's roadmap number 1. Cardano mainnet launch, obviously, switching over to Cardano, making all of our tokens CNT right away. We will still have a bridge to ETH because our VCs are coming through ETH, and we'll keep that open because for the future, chain agnosticism is a long-term roadmap item. So changing over, integrating as fast as possible on mainnet. We have to. Lots of people are relying on us. As we said, Oracle's kind of run the space and connect everybody. So we need to do that. Then we will have soon after that. We'll be mostly launching straight off the bat just with our price feed updates and generation that way, and our node staking. So the node operation, will be shortly after that to make sure everything is up and running very quickly. And then the next thing is a VRF for verified randomness generation. So Chainlink does this already, but we need it for our space. We have a few projects already that need it, especially for like gambling protocols like Redodo that we're partnered with obviously need randomness for gambling. Yeah, for sure. And verifiable randomness, that's the biggest thing. It has to know that it's truly random. And so we need to have that going on. And it's used for a lot of other small things in different projects. And that's really the main thing for the rest of the year, is making sure we have that, making sure we have the correct updates. Marketing wise side of that's all the tech stuff for now. And very long term, I guess, like I said, chain agnosticism. And then also we hope to become fully governed by the community, have like a potentially a side governance token. This is just very, very early stage talks, ideas. But we want to be able to work that way in some sort of a DAO where the community gets to vote on everything. It's fully governed project by like full decentralization. But we can't do that right off the bat because it just doesn't work with the model of a newly budding chain and everything. There's just not enough involvement. So that's the long-term goals. And then marketing stuff, we have the drop for drop campaign with Grow Your Stake pool that we're trying to do more humanitarian efforts with, and hopefully working with other projects to do financial literacy workshop type things to bring it more to the regular person on this age of mass adoption. And obviously integrating with as many partners as we can along the way, because if we got to catch Chainlink somehow, they're at 600 and some plus, so got to do it every day.
Yeah, that's it. You've got a lot of work to do, my friend. That Clean Water Initiative is a really good initiative. And hopefully it's an idea that gets adopted by a lot of kind of people working in the space in one way, shape or form. This idea of kind of combining a project on Cardano, which isn't directly linked to, clean water, but then you're partnering with other people that are maybe focusing on that aspect using Cardano and just working in some symbiotic kind of way. I really love that idea because people that listen to this podcast know that I'm kind of into that kind of stuff, and it's always good to see. So kudos for starting up that and everyone else that's involved with that. So do you want to maybe quickly name drop who's in the Clean Water Initiative at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. I was very proud of managing that with Josh from Grow Your Stake pool. He also does Cardano Chats, the YouTube situation, another YouTube show similar to yourself. And so I got together through my network, Redodo, which is a gambling platform, Juro Wallet, which is another incubated project from CardStarter that we work with very closely. Vi Finance, which is a DEX based in Australia, very, very smart guys. And it was ADAX as well, another DEX that's building for Cardano. These are all Cardano projects. And they're the first ones that are introduced on our original press release that we've put out so far. Now, I can't say the other names, but there are 4 other projects that are ready to join, and they're just waiting to use it as basically as a marketing thing for their launches, to grab in more people and join different podcasts and stuff that I'm having. So I think by the time this comes out, we would have done our first talk as the group. And so people can go and check that out as well. And that'll be really good. But I'm really happy to have this community of people. It's really great people. And honestly, all I had to do when talking to them was mention what it was. And they all said, yep, here's our money. So it's really great to be working in this space where basically everyone that's building for Cardano still has the same idea, and they've all gotten into it for the same sort of reasons. And it's great to see that instant like want to work together on a process like this that isn't tech based, that isn't crypto related, to show people that there is something more to crypto, that we can do something good.
On that note, what was your inspiration for even getting involved with Cardano? I know you kind of talked about it briefly, but it sounds like from what you just said that there is this other kind of deeper layer that drew you into Cardano. Do you want to maybe talk about those sorts of aspects of Cardano that you are interested in?
Yeah, the main thing wasn't even the decentralized thing. Like I did talk about the community for sure, but that's something I found out afterwards, right? The main thing was this philanthropic behavior of trying to disrupt, I guess, the classic normal establishment of how finances are uh, running situations, and being able to, well, Cardano's whole statement, I guess, is bank the unbankable, right? And again, being able to disrupt that normal kind of finance situation and stabilize different communities. And I come from a long, long, many years, entire life of being quite poor, I'll say, not having a lot of any kind of finances, and feeling like I'm stuck in a lot of places because I can't go anywhere. Uh, and as much as my situation might not be the same as these communities we're working in rural Africa and whatnot, I still feel that same way of not having any power, and I'm sure it's far worse for them. So that's a thing that really drove me to Cardano, is being able to stabilize something and reduce stress and reduce mental health issues, and that can even run into physical health problems, and just have this huge cascading effect on anybody's well-being, and through that, again, the nature of the world, and being able to even get opportunities for different things. Like, I'll just take this part of the story in our clean water initiative is talking about just being able to give clean water actually empowers the communities that it gives to, so. And then this is, again, something I saw from Cardano when they did in the education ministry takeover, basically to stabilize that in Ethiopia, is say with the water, that can actually lead to people getting more education, right? Because now you're not sick all the time from the bad water you have. Your parents don't, parents or you as the children don't have to walk many, many, many miles to get some sort of water and bring it back. So now you have time in your day from not having to treat sick family members and not having to go, spend many miles walking, and you don't have all the potential physical injuries you might get along the way, and exhaustion and all these other things. Like, it is such a cascading effect of all these things on how it can affect it in a society, like, and culturally and community wise, if you have this much more time to start building your community and a better health status to do it from. It's huge on the change and impact it can have. So that's what I saw from Cardano, and all of these little pieces that work together in sort of a puzzle, and building and building and building and building higher to better, more innovative situations. I didn't see another path to go on coming into crypto. I'm 100% into Cardano for those reasons, and not for the reasons of money.
Yeah, I mean the money's definitely a welcomed bonus, but I'm similar. I got into Cardano because I'm interested in changing the world, and
Yeah.
my particular angles with in the environment, wildlife, but also that's all interconnected with social problems as well. So they're all interconnected. But I see Cardano as a fundamental solution to a lot of these problems, and
Yeah.
Charles is really good at kind of conveying that dream and convincing people that we can do something about it through embracing this technology. So that was me. So, and it seems like a lot of people share that same mentality and are getting into this space for a variety of different reasons, and they're all valid. But a lot of it's like a pretty decent chunk of the people are trying to actually change the world through using Cardano, and it's awesome to hear all these different stories. It's quite inspiring as well. And for me, that gets to speak to a few different people here and there. It's definitely a motivating force for me as well, which is kind of cool
Yeah.
from a selfish perspective.
I think education is the biggest thing. I mean, we even touched on it before of this peer-reviewed research into Cardano, right? They care about education, education for understanding the different implications of what these can bring to different communities, education on understanding how to manage environmental causes, because that's my goal too. We had a little bit of conversation before this about, and as much as I'm trying to focus on the humanitarian side of things right now, if you educate people in the right way, just the adoption of that and exposure to different ways of thinking can help out in so many other ways. And if I want to start dealing with environmental causes, the main way is to start educating people about how to manage those, so I think it all ties in together on every front.
100%. I love the dream, bro. I love the dream. With the Charli3 dream and also the kind of the larger dream that you have as well. But for the Charli3 dream in particular, who was the team behind realizing that dream?
Yeah, so I did give us some name drops earlier. So myself as one, Jonas Lindgren is our CTO, a nice, wonderful Swedish man. And Robert Heaver is another fellow Canadian who lives out in Vancouver. And he has a great background, in fintech and AI and stuff. And he works with a lot of different banks and doing, different management operations there. And Jonas has a great background in blockchain already. He's done a few different projects as a CTO and brought them to success and fruition. So this is the team that's coming through with it. We all are very academic in our backgrounds. And again, another reason that drew us all into this situation. And what we are doing so far is all of us, I think Rob is starting to transition out of his normal day job. Like I said, have left nursing to fully manage this project. And Jonas has done the same thing, is made sure he's not removed, but like distance himself from the other projects as well to really focus on Charli. So it has all of our full attentions basically all day as much as possible, because we see the potential in what we can bring with this project to the space, to ourselves, and to the communities that are involved with it. So that's the team. And the only reason I didn't get more in depth on their side is I think that that's their story to tell, not mine. And I don't want to mess anything up.
That's fair enough. For the listeners who, listening to this and may want to get their hands on some Charli3 token, how can they do that?
Oh man, through the mystical internet wormholes of crypto. So the only place that we're available at the moment is on Uniswap. Now, the best way to go about this is right on our website, charli3.io. And right at the beginning of the website, one of the first buttons is a buying guide, and then get Charli3. Click that buying guide, gives you every single step on how to get the token. Right beside it, the Get Charli3 will throw you straight over to Uniswap with the correct token code in there already, so you don't have to worry about having a fake. And you just go through that process and buy. I know ETH gas fees suck, but that's where we're at right now. We're building towards Cardano every day so we can get rid of that. But ETH is the only way right now, and Uniswap's the only place that we're listed. And you want some extra help with that, join us on the Telegram and we'll go for it.
Mm-hmm. On the Telegram note, how can people connect with you online and follow what you're doing and support your work?
Yeah, so Twitter is great as well. So following a lot on Twitter, that's our largest following. Again, Charli3 Oracles is our handle there. And the links to all of our socials, again, is right on the website, charli3.io. You go up there, you click on the socials links, you can go right to us. And there's always a moderator. We have moderators from around the world. So there's always somebody there to help you all the time in the chats and answer your questions. I am personally also there and get forwarded questions and talk to community members, even on calls like this, to answer questions, which I don't think a lot of projects will do, like leaders of projects anyway. And on the Twitter, I also run that. So if you message me there or even just leave comments, I will be integrating myself into everybody's curiosities about the project. So that's how we can get involved.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, all those links will be in the description wherever I post this.
Wicked.
And for the closing question, I'd love to know what excites you the most about the future of Cardano?
Man, that's a big question, dude. What excites me about the most about it? Um, I would say stability in financial networks in the places that need it. Again, I know that might seem like a lame, non-creative answer because that is their whole gimmick, right? But for me, stability in financial situations and stability in communities and stability in potential mental health, like it's just that word of stability in
Interesting.
many different ways is my most exciting factor of Cardano. And yeah, again, stable community, stable financial life, stable mental health, stable education, stable, financial literacy, even through the same thing of education. Like that's where I see the main thing going. And crypto is so volatile and hectic right now that I hope that Cardano, with its processes and its ideas and communities and long-term goals, can help stabilize what's happening and people's involvement within their projects.